Okay, so what's flying like during the coronavirus? Now, what's interesting is I used to fly quite a lot. Gradually, of course, I've been flying less and less because as frequent visitors to this channel know, I've been talking about remote business, global business now for years, even before the coronavirus. But nevertheless, I do travel for pleasure quite a lot. But this year I've been doing less, but I have started to do a little bit more as more countries have started to open up. So I thought I would share with you my experiences of traveling. So I went to the UK recently. Unfortunately, the UK, rightly or wrongly, is very liberal when it comes to opening up its borders. It's never closed its borders and only recently has it imposed a quarantine. So it was the easiest thing in the world to go to the UK, both as a British person and a non-British person, assuming you've got a visa as a non-British person. But for me, obviously, I have the British passport. It was literally a humanless experience. Go in, e-gate, put the passport down, and it was literally a 5-minute job. However, what was different about it was the procedure for going into the UK. There were more questions about, okay, well, is the UK open? A lot of people were confused in the airport about, the rules. Did you have to prove, where you're staying? So there are a few more questions on the other side, but there weren't as many questions on the UK side. However, obviously what was different was the airport was pretty much 90% capacity on both sides, less people. Actually, it was a nice experience, apart from the fact we had to wear masks, and indeed, apart from masks, also had to put on obviously the face mask, gloves, and there was a lot more procedures in terms of we were told to move a few times in the airport, because they were cleaning down the airport. Apart from that, it was actually quite a nice experience. It was almost like going back probably to flying in the 1950s in some ways, in terms of much less people, much more people were spread out. And I can remember also people were coming around, the airline hostesses with extra food, because basically there weren't enough people. So they're saying, do you want more food free of charge? So in many ways it was a nice experience. But what was interesting is when I left the UK, there was a big confusion. This shows the big negative about traveling during coronavirus. To cut a long story short, the person at the airline, I'm not going to name the name of the airline because I actually had a reasonably good experience with them after this incident happened, said I couldn't get into the next country I was going to on a British passport. That information was false. But to cut a long story short, they were being told from their office in the Middle East that I could not travel. That was false. I could travel as long as I quarantined for 2 weeks on the other side. So the biggest negative hasn't been the masks. The biggest negative has been the confusion. But apart from the confusion, the mask wearing, some extra procedures, there's actually a lot of positives about traveling during this period. You don't have to get to the airport 2 hours early, although I would still advise it, because if something happens to you like what happened to me and you're told incorrectly that you can't fly, you might have to call the embassy from the airport or whatever. But nevertheless, it's actually quite a nice experience. So the funny thing is, when we get back to passenger numbers being what they were before, let's say in 3 or 4 years, I think a lot of people are going to say this was actually quite a nice time to fly.